Good evening, everyone. Here for the Mount Juliet Board of Commissioners, we're here for a public hearing. I'll read the announcement for the record. Mount Juliet Board of Commissioners will hold a public hearing at 6:15 to consider the following items on second reading, and I will read these. First is to amend the land use plan for the property known as Golden Bear Place PUD located at Beckwith Road, map 78, parcel 21.1 from interstate commercial to mixed use, and parcel 17.01 from mixed use to multifamily. To amend the preliminary master development plan, the PMTP, including the rezone for RS40 to CMU PUD for Golden Bear Place planned unit development being located off Beckwith Road, map 78, parcel 1016, 17.01, and part of parcel 21.1. And the city of Mount Juliet, Wilson, Tennessee. The third item is to consider the annexation and plan of services and the annexation resolution for approximately 5 acres of property located at 4009 Beckwith Road, map 78, parcel 21.02, and located within the city's urban growth boundary, and to rezone from Wilson R1 to CI. The fourth is a major amendment to the preliminary master development plan for the Tomlinson Point planned unit development being located at 2844 Curd Road, map 54, parcel 738182.01 in the city of Mount Juliet, Wilson County, Tennessee. The fifth item is to rezone the property located at 434 Nonneville Road, approximately 1.48 acres, map 53, parcel 53 from RS40 to CNS. The next item is to amend the preliminary master development plan for the Beckwith Business Park planned unit development being located at 5158 Beckwith Road, map 78, parcel 141318 in the city of Mount Juliet. Next item is to repeal ordinance 2515-9 and ordinance 26-2 in their entirety to encourage hotel development. The next item is to amend Part B of the Unified Development Code of the City of Mount Juliet, Tennessee, known as the Zoning Regulations Ordinance 2001-29, adopted October 8, 2001, as amended to define hotels and motels in Section 6201, Uses and Structures. Next item is to reconsider the Ordinance 2014-05, which establishes zoning and PUD overlay for the Nicholsville PUD to remove the requirements for the perimeter transitional protective buffer. The next item is to reconsider Public Works Condition 1B of Ordinance 2019-1, which established the zoning and PUD overlay for Linwood Station to revise the requirements for the Greenway Trail to be considered on the 35th Certificate of Occupancy. And the final item is to authorize the abandonment of a portion of the existing right-of-way of Rutland Road near Golden Bear Gateway. The public is invited and encouraged to attend. If you would like to make a comment on any of these items on second reading, I would encourage you to come forward now and give your name and address for the record.
Heckendorf, 393 Page Drive. Somebody asked me a question here, and so I wanted to come up and ask you about the Nonneville Road setup. Not sure if there's already units, how it's proposed, because I think that said 4 units, so they were kind of questioning it moving from RS40 to commercial space. They live close by, so they were kind of asking about how that might look with the 4 units and how that expansion happens, and again, how the decision's made to just move it to commercial, because obviously I'm assuming that would create the parcel, bring the value up quite a bit. So I think they just had some questions around it. I don't know if somebody else can provide that maybe to them or how they might go about getting that information, but I think that would be helpful. So.
All right. Thank you for your comments, sir. Do we have anyone at staff that can address that? Right back there. Could give them. Anyone else for comments for the Board of Commissioners? All right, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. We will reconvene at 6:30 for our regular scheduled meeting. Thanks, everyone. Good evening. It's November 25th. I'll hereby call the meeting of the Mount Juliet Board of Commissioners to order. We have a quorum pursuant to City Code 62210, so we'll proceed with conducting the business of the City of Mount Juliet. I'll start off by saying good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for coming to this meeting of the Mount Juliet Board of Commissioners. My name is Mayor James Maness, and on behalf of the commission and staff, I want to welcome you to tonight's meeting. Tennessee law gives you and every Tennessean the right to attend city commission meetings and to observe the government doing their business. We appreciate the fact that each and every one of you has taken time out of your personal schedules to be here tonight to see how the city government is working. So our first item on our agenda is to actually set the agenda. And without objection, I will remove items 19E and 19F at the request of the applicant. Hearing no objections, we will set the agenda as published minus 19E and 19F with the Rosemont development will be pulled from tonight's agenda. So we have a 380-page packet to work through tonight minus those two items. So if you're here and you'd like to follow along with the agenda, we have some in the wire baskets by the door. If you'd like to follow along with what we're doing, if you're watching online, it's also available online to watch. Our next item that we have is our invocation and pledge of allegiance. I'd ask Minister Rolla Smith, sir, if you would come forward and lead us in our invocation and pledge.
Let us pray. Father God, we're so thankful for this time. We're so thankful, Father God, that we live in a nation that's under God with liberty and justice for all. Father God, we're so thankful that men and women are standing in an armed way right now so that we can have the privilege of meeting here in this place, Father God, and bring forth the business of Mount Juliet. We love you, Lord. We know that you're able to bless us all. So we ask you to bless this commission, Father God, as it brings forth the things that need to be done in Mount Juliet. We ask you, Father God, to make this town a light to the hill, so that people can look around and say, Mount Juliet is growing. Mount Juliet is under the God, and that he is the one that's directing them. Father God, we thank you, and we love you for that. We ask you to bless this commission, bless everybody that's involved, and we give you thanks in Jesus' name. Amen. Would you, yeah. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith here is as our guest of Commissioner Giles. We appreciate you leading us in the invocation and pledge tonight. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from our last meeting, which was 10/28. You have a motion? Motion second. Any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? That passes with a vote of 3 with 2 extensions. No nays, 2 abstentions. Our next item, and I'll start off by saying this. In order to conduct our business-like meetings, the commission has adopted some rules in how these meetings will be conducted. So primarily, these 3 rules are designed to keep the meeting moving and so that all points of views can be heard and considered, and just to provide for a common courtesy. So during this time, if anyone wishes to address the commission, may do so pursuant to Chapter 2, Article 2, Section 220 of City Code, and that article grants you 3 minutes to address the commission. We just ask that you follow these rules. At the beginning of your comments, please give your name and address for the record. Please address all your comments to the mayor. If necessary, the mayor will ask someone to address your comments. But however, the board is under no obligation to respond to questions. The third item is please avoid the use of inappropriate language, profanity, or any other inappropriate conduct. Once the citizen input portion of our meeting has passed, unlike the Planning Commission, there's no other opportunities to address the commission. So if you would, I'd ask you to come to the podium if you'd like to address the commission and give us your name and address for the record. Okay, seeing none, we'll close citizen comments and we'll proceed with commissioner comments and reports. Commissioner Giles, you're recognized for 5 minutes, sir.
All right. Well, it's very good to be here, and I just want to thank everyone. I want to thank my wife and my family and all the constituents who believed in me, and I ask for your prayers during this term. It's 4 years. I want to thank Rolis for coming. Rolis has been a big part in our lives through the years, through many churches, and we do an annual trip together, retreat in Gatlinburg area, and he comes to the Bible study that the mayor and I lead, and it's so your blessing. Thank you for being here tonight to do that. Obviously, I don't have a whole lot because I've not been here, so a lot of my voting tonight will be abstaining because I don't know the material yet. Okay, I don't know what's going on in the city. But one thing I do want to bring to your attention is for about a little over a year, I have attended the Health Council meeting in Lebanon, Tennessee. We meet once a month, early on morning, once a month, and to discuss the health issues and what we can do to prevent. And because of my involvement in the BPAC and Miss Mullally, Commissioner Mullally, and stuff like that, I thought that it was fitting a year ago to try to be a part of that. It's been very rewarding. And so one of the things, they sponsor events and they have a lot of things just like we do at BPAC and things like that in the city. One of the things that is coming up, and he's got it on the board, Travis put it up here, it's called Enough is Enough. And let me emphasize, enough is enough. As you saw, I have 5 grandsons, 5 and under. And when my sons were younger, we didn't have the problem that we have today. But there's a free meeting coming on December the 5th. They have free child care for newborns to 12 years old. And anyone under 18 cannot be admitted in there because they're going to talk about, obviously, about sex trafficking. They're going to talk about the things dealing with school, people calling in false alarms and things like that. This should be very, very good. So I want to encourage you to come out for this. And again, it's a free event. There's flyers in the back on both of these, or this one and this one. They're in the back for you to pick up if you want one. Take it to your church, take it to someone else. So thank you again to everyone. And it's an honor and privilege and a blessing to be here and to represent you. Mayor, that concludes my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Next, we'll recognize Vice Mayor Trevette.
Thanks, Mayor, and thanks for everybody coming out tonight. Just want to congratulate everyone that was reelected and also elected. Commissioner, looking forward to working with you, sir. Want to just remind everyone right around the corner, actually tomorrow night, just because, again, it's for the parks as well as our city, Christmas tree lighting starting at 5 p.m. So I know that you're probably going to hear that a few times tonight, but it's a great opportunity for all of our families to get together and just, see what our city is doing outside of all this. So that's great. So as we have many opportunities within our city for all of us to get together, just want to remind folks, please check out the city website for all the different dates as we go through the holidays over the next couple of weeks. Also, let's see here. Just want to remind some folks also with our first responders, as we're traveling, our first responders do a great job at, taking care of our city, our community. So if you see something during the holidays, I know our chief and deputy chief have been putting out a lot of notifications. Be aware of your surroundings. For some of you that's been out there like we are very close to Nashville, and we all get complacent about how great our city is and how safe it is, but we still have bad folks that want to come here. As our commissioner just highlighted, there's a lot of bad folks out there, but we want to make sure that all of us are aware of our surroundings and communicate and call in what you see, even if it's something that you suspect. So please be aware. With that, just want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving and a safe one as you travel with friends or family. Sorry about that, Mayor. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now we'll recognize Commissioner Hefner for 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mayor.
5 minutes. I'll short you.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate everybody coming out this evening. I've got some special guests that are joining me this evening. My family got a cousin, Clay, coming in. I want to give a big shout out to Clay. He works. He's in the United States Air Force, and he came up to surprise me for swearing in tonight. So he's a staff sergeant for the U.S. Air Force, and he's based out of Pensacola. So appreciate you coming up, Clay. And of course, my lovely wife, Cherie, and mother-in-law, Brenda, and father-in-law, Terry. Appreciate all that you've done for me during my reelection bid. You guys were out there every day during early voting, holding signs and just everything. I can't thank you enough for that. Also want to congratulate Mayor Manus, Commissioner R. Giles, and more importantly, overall just really clean races run across the board. Very proud of that. And Commissioner Giles, look forward to working with you over the next 4 years. And also big shout out to Tommy Hibbett. I've been saying this for 4 years. If I said it once, I probably said it half a dozen times. Look, if anybody thinks they can do a better job than anybody sitting up in these seats, then pull a petition and run for office. And he did just that. So I commend him for stepping up and taking that on. It's not an easy thing to do. And he did it, kept it clean, and ran a really good race. So kudos to Tommy. I hope he finds his way on a board somewhere within the city and gets plugged in with his, of course, with his father, Mr. Hibbett, the first mayor, and his mother, the first female mayor. So hopefully he can find a place to get plugged into and can contribute. I want to thank all my supporters, everyone that came out and voted for me. Can't thank you enough. As far as the next 4 years, what I've been doing the last 4 years, there's not going to be much change. I'm gonna fight for, the rights of the citizens in my district. I'm gonna fight against developers that are bringing projects in to hit areas that are lacking infrastructure. So nothing's going to change there. You're not going to see much of a difference out of me over the next 4 years. So happy Thanksgiving, and PSA announcement: don't drop a frozen turkey in your deep fryer. Where's our chief? Right? Is that guy? We don't want to deep fry frozen turkeys. So please don't do that. So anyways, that concludes my report. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. We'll recognize Commissioner Mullally for 5 minutes.
Thank you. Next newsletter go out Sunday or Monday, and I'm working on it now. Like Commissioner Giles said, mentioned BPAC, the Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee. I serve on it along with Commissioner Giles. And we have annual events every year, and the one coming up is next Monday night, which is the Christmas Lights Walk. So you're all invited to come. It starts at 6 o'clock, and it's gonna be in Willoughby Station off South Green Hill Road at the parking lot where the swimming pool is. And we're going to have hot chocolate and cookies and treats, and then trying to get some music there. And so anyway, it's a very exciting, festive light. And we walk around and look at the Christmas lights in Willoughby Station, which is where it's going to be this year. We have it somewhere different every year, but again, this year it's going to be in Willoughby Station. So if you don't know, BPAC promotes healthy lifestyles through sidewalks, bike lanes, and greenways and connectivity. So please come out for that next Monday night at 6 o'clock. Dress warm. I just looked at the weather. Looks like it's going to be very cold. But even when it's cold, we still have a great time. Bring the family. Tomorrow night at 5 o'clock at the clock tower on the corner of East Division, we are having our Christmas tree lighting at 5 o'clock. There's going to be food trucks, so everyone please come out for that. That'll be very exciting. We're doing it a little early this year so we can have it lit longer for the season. there's one meeting, BOC meeting in December. It's December 9th. So we won't be meeting the week of Christmas. And so congratulations to Commissioner Giles and the Mayor Manis, and Commissioner Hefner on their victories. And happy Thanksgiving to everyone. And that's all.
Thank you, ma'am. And I'll just add as well, congratulations on the reelection to Commissioner Hefner and the election to Commissioner Giles. And appreciate it. And I look forward to these next 4 years as we come together as a board and consider the business before us. I also just want to take a moment here and recognize we have someone here for Boy Scouts. We have Mr. Andrew Hurley. He is here to earn his merit badge here tonight. So there he is, everyone. So recognize you and thank you for your efforts and your service. I'd also just conclude by saying happy Thanksgiving, everyone. With that, we'll recognize our city manager for his comments.
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. Thanks, everybody, for being here tonight and coming out and supporting the duly elected 3 board members here. Thank you so much. Congratulations, Commissioner Hefner, Commissioner Giles, Mayor Manis. I want to thank you and your families, and to those that weren't elected this particular time around, for the sacrifices you make for somebody that's been here for a long time. I can tell you in 35 years, I see the sacrifices each of you make. I see the family members here that I've watched grow up. And so I know what the parents and the moms and dads and spouses do behind the scenes. So thank you for what you do for the sacrifices. I think we have much to be thankful for. And with it being Thanksgiving, even more so. Mount Juliet, I think, is one of the most blessed cities on the face of the planet. And it's because of not only the people in the audience, but the people at home watching, and then all those that came before us and those that will come afterwards. We have a great thing here, and I'm very thankful for that. I want to recognize this young man's dad back here as well. Mr. Hurley, can you stand up as well? Yeah, it's always neat when you see a parent that's heavily involved in their child's life and you know that's what they do. And there's no way you can deny that young man. Stand up there, young man. I think he just barely are about to surpass Dad in height. And I remember that when I was growing up. And for you guys in here, you'll understand what a big deal that is. That's pretty cool stuff. So it makes me feel good as a dad. And with grandkids, as Commissioner Giles said, with the grandbabies. Thank you so much, Dad, for being involved in your son's life. You've done quite well. And just honored. I don't want to get too mushy or anything, but we're blessed. There was a lady, unfortunately, last week. I didn't get an opportunity, although the chief in the police department and the chief of the fire department and their teams did a phenomenal job. Unfortunately, the lady lost her life. This was on I-40 right at the interchange. If everybody was wondering why the traffic was so bad, when that happens, reconstructionists have to come out, and it takes hours to work that. We went out there the day after and visited the site because there was a lot of debris and some signs down and all. And, it just makes you realize when something like that happens, there's somebody somewhere hurting. So I encourage people all the time that being a friend to somebody, praying for somebody, as Commissioner Giles said, with this precious man sitting right over there. I've known him for years. I don't think I've never ever seen him without a smile on his face. And thank you, his daughter, for being here. He's a sweet man. But and finally, as everything else has been mentioned, thank y'all for supporting moving up the Christmas tree lighting. I think Lebanon had theirs about 2 weeks ago, and we just made the decision. If anybody remembers the tree that we'd had put up, we tried transplanting a real tree a few years ago, and trees just that size don't transplant well. So I heard Charlie Brown tree several times last year. You could see through the tree, and I don't think trees are made to be seen through. So we decided to replace it. So thank the citizens for their input. It's a beautiful tree, and a tree, if you're going to have a ceremony, you can't really light the tree until you have the ceremony, because it's like, what would you do? Turn the lights off and then turn them on? So we thought, we don't want to light it. We want it to be that big of a deal. So we encourage everybody to please, please, please come out. We've tried to do a better job this year of doing our Christmas decorations. And I just think as we get this new year started with a fresh start, get hearts and minds in order where they need to be, just to realize how truly blessed you are and love your loved ones with all your might. And last point of order for me, is I'd like to read a document into the minutes of the meeting. It's more housekeeping than anything. It says this document is required annual notification to the civilian governing body, which is the Board of Commissioners, about participation in the LESO program that allows us to obtain surplus state and federal government equipment. And we're mandated to read that into the record in order to participate in the program. So I want to thank each of you again. I hope everybody has a great night. Please, 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 as everybody said here, be careful. We're having a multitude of deer versus vehicle crashes, And there's even been a fatality involved in that recently as well, not in our jurisdiction. So please, please, please be careful. And that concludes my report, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. And with that, we'll move into the business portion of our agenda. And the first item that we have is an election of vice mayor. This election, it's from the board members up here. From the four, we'll choose someone to serve as a vice mayor for a 2-year term. So with that, I'll open the floor for nominations. Commissioner Mullally?
I nominate Bill Trevette, the current vice mayor, to remain in the seat.
Okay, we have a nomination for our current vice mayor, Bill Trevette. Are there any other nominations? I'll make a motion to close nominations. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Without objection, we'll close nominations. All in favor of Bill Trevette to serve a 2-year term for vice mayor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Well, congratulations, Vice Mayor. The next item on the agenda is appointment. This is a 4-year appointment for the Board of Commissioners representative to the Planning Commission. Of the 9 members of the Planning Commission, we have one of the 4 members of this body, commissioners, serves as a representative to the Planning Commission. So with that, I'll open the floor for nominations. Commissioner Mullally?
I nominate Commissioner Art Giles to serve on the Planning Commission. He served on it when he was District 3 Commissioner as well. So I would like to see him back on there.
Thank you. We have a nomination for Commissioner Giles. Commissioner Hefner, you're recognized.
Appreciate the sentiment about Art Giles, Commissioner Giles. Sorry, I've actually had. It's been quite a great experience for me personally being on the Planning Commission. I was going to reject any nominations because I feel like this would be a great experience for somebody that has not served on it. So I was actually going to be nominating Commissioner Mullally actually to serve on the Planning Commission.
Okay. So is that a nomination for Commissioner?
Yes, it
Mullally?
is.
Okay. We have a nomination for Commissioner Mullally. Right. Any other nominations? Without objection, we'll close nominations. So we have two candidates forward. Everyone willing to serve? Okay. All in favor of Commissioner Giles to serve on the Planning Commission, please signify by saying aye. Aye. I believe that was 3. Okay. All right. We have a 3 and abstention. And so that's the majority. So Commissioner Giles, you are hereby nominated to the Planning Commission. So congratulations, sir. The next item is the election of a BOC representative to the Parks and Greenway Board. I believe this is a 4-year appointment as well. I'll open the floor for nominations. Commissioner Mullally.
Currently, Vice Mayor serves on it, and I think he's done a great job. I nominate him to continue.
Any other nominations? All right. Without objection, we'll close nominations. All in favor of Vice Mayor Trevette serving on the Parks and Greenway Board, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right. But we had a majority vote for Commissioner Trevette. So thank you, sir, for your service. You're back reappointing. The next items on our agenda, we have all 4 of these next items refer to the property at 4009 Beckwith Road. Without objection, I want to read all 4 of these in here to be considered at once. Hearing no objections on this, we'll consider all 4 of these. 14A, a resolution adopting a plan of service for the property known as Beckwith property located at 4009 Beckwith Road, map 78, parcel 21.02 in Wilson County, Tennessee, located within the city's urban growth boundary. 14B is an ordinance to annex into the corporate boundaries of the city of Mount Juliet approximately 5 acres property located at 4009 Beckwith Road, map 78, parcel 21.02 and located within the city's urban growth boundary. And 14C is a resolution of in memorandum of ordinance relative to the annexation of 4009 Beckwith Road. And 14D is an ordinance to rezone the property located at 4009 Beckwith Road, map 78, parcel 21.02 from Wilson County R1 to CI. Have a motion? Motion is second. Any questions or comments on these four items? All in favor of 14A, B, C, and D, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any nays? Any abstentions? One abstention. The four items there do carry. The next items are all under consent. I'll read the consent agenda here for your consideration, which is 15A, an ordinance to repeal ordinance 2015-09 and ordinance 2016-2 in their entirety and to encourage hotel growth. 15B, an ordinance to amend Part B of the Unified Development Code of the City of Mount Juliet, Tennessee, known as Zoning Regulations Ordinance 2001-29, adopted October 8, 2001, as amended to define hotels and motels in section 6102, uses and structures. 15C, an ordinance to reconsider ordinance 2014-05, which establishes zoning and PUD overlay for the Nicholsville PUD to remove the requirements for the perimeter transitional protective barrier. 15D, an ordinance to authorize the abandonment of a portion of the existing right-of-way of Rutland Drive near Golden Bear Gateway. Have a motion? Second. All in favor of the consent agenda, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Consent agenda passes. Move on to our next item, which is 16A, an ordinance to amend the land use plan for the property known as Golden Bear Gateway, Golden Bear Place PUD, located off Beckwith Road, map 78, parcel 21.1, from interstate commercial to mixed use, and part of parcel 1701 from mixed use multifamily. Is there any objection to considering 16B at the same time? Hearing none. 16B, an ordinance to amend the preliminary master development plan, PMDP, include a rezone from RS40 to CMU PUD for the Golden Bear Place planned unit development PUD being located off Beckwith Road, map 78, parcel 10.16, 17.1, and part of parcel 21.1 in the city of Mount Juliet, Wilson County, Tennessee. Have a motion? Second. Motion is second. The item is on the floor. I have staff's mics at the table turned on. If there's any questions about this Golden Bear, would anybody like the floor? Commissioner Milady?
This amendment was for removing the 55 and up. Well, part of it got moved to a different area. And then the other part of the amendment was to remove the 55 and plus into market value townhomes. I voted against that at first reading because I really liked the 55 and up. But I did read the traffic study. So the total of the multifamily reduces by 88. The section of where the senior living is going to be is, since part of that would be townhomes, is reduced by 120. We did get an email confirming that the schools, director of schools said that it's not an issue. They are taking care of the schools. So basically saying it's not an issue. Let's see. So I did have a question though, since these would be going to market value townhomes for 1, 2, and 3 bedroom. I didn't see anything in there for a playground. Was that discussed at planning?
Not yet, but they'd be required to install amenities further down the line after PMDP.
Which would include a playground? Just
That is stipulated in our code, yeah, as one of the things that you could use.
okay. And I didn't know if there might be room somewhere within the development to add some pickleball courts and tennis courts. Is that an option? Would there be an area to add any of that availability?
I'd imagine so. I'd have to defer to the representation if they feel the same way, but it's a big development. Lots of space.
Is the representative here? Yeah, Mr. McDonald.
Get your name and address for the record, please.
Hey, Mark McDonald, 115 Jackson Boulevard. We don't really have any plans for pickleball courts at this point in time, or tennis courts, but something we could consider. Pickleball's loud, as you know.
Yes, it is.
But there is a new quiet pickleball. I don't know if you've seen that.
I have.
Have you
Yeah.
played it?
I haven't, but I've
Yeah.
heard about it.
I bought some paddles to try it
Really?
because I'm nervous about the.
Oh, the paddles with the felt on it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. But we'll look into that.
Okay. Yeah, just a thought. So,
Right. Commissioner Hefner, you're recognized.
As part of this PUD, believe we were getting a donation of land. Is that correct? Okay, so this conversation came up months ago. So there's 5 acres that's being donated to City of Mount Juliet that we discussed potentially putting pickleball courts there.
I don't think it's quite that big, but yeah, I'd love to have pickleball.
I know we
courts there.
talked about it. I
Right.
don't know if it's going to suit 1 court or 5 courts. I don't know. I've never played pickleball, to be honest with you. So I don't know. But I know that you're donating some land, and I know that we talked about potentially putting some amenities there, whether it's pickleball or whatever.
I think we had done a plan that had actually 8 to 10 pickleball courts potentially. It's a city property to do with what they want, but
Right,
I think that works, and there could be cross parking with the self-storage.
correct. I do remember that. So I just wanted to point that out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor, you're recognized.
Yeah, a quick question for the developer and also the landowner. So that land, is it going to be, obviously with all the construction going on, is that land going to be ready for any type of improvements, or is it just going to be as is for donation? I'm just kind of curious.
I think it's just as is, but it's reasonably flat at road level in Beckwith.
Okay. I just want to make sure, because again, 5 acres sounds great, but if it's on the hillside, it's going to be interesting, right?
No, it's a flat piece of property.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Sure.
All right. Question for staff. Anything that needs to be codified in here for as variances? Because I read under engineering, number 6 says staff supports variance number 9 with the caveat of 24-foot pavement width. Is there anything that needs to be codified before we vote on this?
So that variance was the cul-de-sac variance for the townhomes, specifically that offshoot, but realistically for the entire thing.
Okay.
I would say it'd be a good idea to codify CO triggers in the offsite improvements. With the signal being installed as warranted, but the roadscape improvements being, if not the first, the first permit shortly thereafter.
Okay, you said offsite signal as warranted,
Yes, sir.
and what was the second one?
There are some additional turn lanes going onto the interstate, coming off the interstate, as well as coming into the site that I would recommend those be installed very early on.
Okay. Have you got recommendations for when those should occur?
I would recommend prior to the first.
Prior to the first CO?
Yes, sir.
So that was the offsites. Was there an item before that? I was trying to write notes as you were talking.
No, sir.
Okay. So you recommend codifying the offsite improvements signal as if warranted? Is it a better way of saying it?
It's
Gotta be warranted.
So I'd say as warranted.
But you're just saying signal and the turn lanes off the interstate prior to first CO.
Correct.
Okay. That'll be my motion for that amendment. Got a second on that? Any questions or comments on the amendment? All right, all in favor of amending the ordinance to require that offsite improvements be completed before the first CO for the signal and the turn lanes off the interstate, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? We have one abstention, but it carries. Anything else for staff? All right, Commissioner Mullally.
I do have a question, since these are going to be townhomes now for sale. They're for sale. Okay, so should we do the 10% cap for rental cap, or I'll defer to our city attorney? Yeah, the 10% rental cap that we have been placing on to be put into the HOA covenants and bylaws and everything, and it would be up to the HOA to enforce that, not the city, but the HOA.
Ms. Burnett.
We can ask them to include that, but it's not something that we can enforce.
No, the city can't, but
Correct.
I would like to motion that the for sale townhomes residential would be, have a 10% cap for the rentals for the entire HOA, and also for the, no one owner can own more than 2 units.
Okay, we have a motion, which is a cap on the for sale for the townhomes, a 10% cap on the rentals, and no one owner may own more than 2. Okay, got a second on that? Any questions or comments, discussion on the amendment? Commissioner Hefner?
Yes, I just want to make sure we're clear. So you're saying we can't enforce it?
That's correct. HOAs, we can't enforce.
Okay,
That's only for the HOA to enforce. We can't be involved in that really in any way.
correct. So if they don't enforce it?
Chancery Court.
Then there's nothing we can do. The HOA would have to
So this
take
is
their own
just-
actions.
Okay, so this is just a hope and a prayer that they're going to enforce it? Okay.
Correct.
We can require the HOA to have this in their deed or their covenants.
We can't require them to. We can ask them to, but we cannot require them to
Okay.
because we can't enforce it.
We have Mr. McDonald.
Mark McDonald, 115 Jackson Boulevard. That's fine with us. We'll include that in the HOA documentation for sure.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, any other questions or comments on the amendment? All in favor of the 10% cap on rentals for to be enforced by the HOA with no one owner owning more than 2, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? An abstention with that. So we're back on the ordinance as twice amended. Commissioner Mullally?
Just one more thing, I voted, like I said, I voted against it because I didn't like the age restricted being removed. But at the end of the day, I have to ask what's best for the city. I do like the development as a whole. I do want it to pass. So I would not want my vote to hinder it passing. So I'm not a market expert, but the developer is a marketing expert, and he knows what he's doing. So I will change my vote at second reading to support.
All right, any other questions or comments? All right, all in favor of 16A and B, please signify by saying aye.
All right.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Both 16A and 16B for Golden Bear Place, the land use and the PUD, both pass. Our next item is 16C, an ordinance for a major amendment to the preliminary master development plan for the Tomlinson Point Plan Unit Development being located at 2844 Curd Road, map 54, parcel 73, 81, and 82.2 in the city of Mount Juliet, Wilson County, Tennessee. Motion and a second. Item is on the floor for discussion. All in favor of 16C, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? 16C carries. Our next item is 16D, an ordinance to rezone the property located at 434 Nonneville Road, approximately 1.48 acres, map 53, parcel 53, from RS40 to CNS. Motion is second. The item is on the floor. Any questions or comments? All in favor of 16D, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? 16D does carry with one abstention. Next item is 16E, an ordinance to amend the preliminary master development plan for the Beckworth Business Park planned unit development being located at 5158 Beckworth Road, map 78, parcel 14, 13, 13.10, 18, and the city of Mount Juliet. Motion? Motion is second. Any questions or comments on 16E? All in favor of 16E, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? 16E does carry. The next item is 16F, which is an ordinance to reconsider Public Works Condition 1B of Ordinance 2019.0, which establishes the zoning and PUD overlay for the Linwood Station to revise the requirement for the Greenway Trail to be considered by the 35th Certificate of Occupancy. A motion and a second. The item is on the floor. I'm going to make a motion here real quick. There were two ordinances submitted. I'm going to motion that we substitute to adopt the ordinance it's labeled across the top to be amended for second reading. And it's also got a place for the 91st is in the first blank, and I would submit the 200th to go in the second. Motion. We have a second on that. Any questions or comments?
Again?
It's a motion to both substitute the ordinance that's labeled to amend for second reading, and there's a blank in there for phase 2 multi-use path to be completed. I put in completed by the 200th certificate of occupancy.
Okay, but, all right, I'm confused. I'm behind on scrolling here. We're changing what was it, the 35 to the 91st?
Yeah, there's just two places in here. The actual motion is to substitute what was considered on first reading with the ordinance that was submitted before us here to be amended on second reading, substitute with that language, and to insert the 200 certificate of occupancy in that blank. And staff, I know, has a presentation if that would be beneficial, Commissioner.
Oh, okay. I see it.
Thank you, Mayor. I do want to thank Ms. Hamlin for writing the initial ordinance. After further review, we wanted to codify what happened after the project was initially approved. River, if you can put the PDFs I sent you. So, can you put the original? Thank you. So when this project was approved in 2019, the Greenway was supposed to run down Division, cross at Industrial, and then come to the site, and then the Greenway was going to run internally out to Clemens Road. But the development and ran into issues with railroad coordination and other infrastructure, so the alignment was then adjusted to the new layout that comes down Division to the intersection of Clemens and Division, and then goes north. Can you change it, River, please? As you can see, the alignment now goes down Division, goes north up to Clemens to the Linwood Station development. What the developer is asking to codify at the 91st CO is in green. And we have asked that the board codify the remaining of the trail, which is in blue, which the developer met with Director White and myself, and we agreed to tie the rest of the greenway, which is shown in blue at the 200th CO, which coincides with a turn lane improvement, a southbound right turn lane on Clemens. So we thought that was fair, and hence we'd like for the board to, but that's what the basis of our recommendation is, and for the board to decide.
Thank you, sir. Any questions or comments on this? Vice Mayor?
And I appreciate staff going through this because I know that this was discussed a couple times, at a couple different meetings. I think there was a discussion about a crosswalks. Did we get that worked out for some type of crosswalks with some lighting? I know that was a discussion there. Nothing. So there's no concern there because I believe it was Commissioner Mullally is what brought that up when it crosses over. There was a discussion there. So is there any concern there from staff or was that addressed?
Matthew White, Public Works Director. Are you talking about when the trail crosses over the railroad tracks?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, so the railroad company will install pedestrian gate arms, just
Okay.
like the one at South Green Hill Road.
Yep.
The little small gate arms. So there'll be those on both sides.
Okay. And then
Yep.
is just the way that this looks, so when it crosses over, the main road, there's also that crosswalk. I think that was the other concern there as well.
At Industrial.
Yep.
The crosswalk. Yeah, there'll be a painted crosswalk.
Yeah, but I think Commissioner was asking for a light there or something like that, a flashing light or like a notification. I was just going over my notes and I think that was a topic there. So just didn't know if that was a discussion or that's all.
No, it probably not because it's right there at where Industrial and East Division meet. So we typically don't do raised crosswalks that close to a intersection. Could cause safety issues.
Sure. Well, I think that, I mean, I believe it was just like an awareness flashing light of some sort, I think is what the initial discussion was a couple of weeks back when this was originally on the agenda.
We typically do those for like a mid-block crossing where an oncoming vehicle has clear visibility of the flashing lights.
Okay.
When it's at an intersection, turning vehicles won't always see those until it's too late.
Okay.
Because as soon as they turn, they're in the crosswalk.
Sure. So there's no
So they
concern
may
there
not
from
see the
staff then?
flashing lights. But
Okay. Yeah, if there's no
we can
concern
look
from
at some
staff.
other pedestrian signage that could work at each approach on Division, saying that there's a pedestrian crossing after you turn. The question about overhead light or street lights, I would have to defer to the applicant if they're willing to put a street light on that corner
Okay.
to make it more visible at night. That'd be up to the applicant if they're willing to install that as part of the project.
Okay. Again, I'm just thinking about, there's still folks, like walking out in the fall, it's still dark. So we want to promote safe walking, obviously, but, just wanted to bring this up because again, it's in a great area and it was just a discussion, I guess, a couple weeks back when this was on the original agenda.
Yeah, Landon Allison, 5915 Kinsdale Drive, civil engineering project. Sounds like applicant would be, or client would be fine with putting in streetlights there as needed. There might be some existing ones too we can take a look at, see how we can make that light work, and we can work with staff as well on any measures needed.
That's great. Okay. So can staff handle that or do we need to make any motion on that? No. Okay. Just want to double check. Thank you. Thanks, Mayor.
All right. Thank you. Any other questions, comments on the amendment? Okay. All in favor of the substitution of the ordinance that says to be amended on second reading with the insertion of the 200 CO, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right. The amendment carries. We're back on the ordinance as once amended. Commissioner Mullally?
At first reading, Commissioner Justice mentioned about getting with Commissioner Hefner regarding senior citizens. Commissioner, do you have any information on that?
Getting a senior citizen.
Yeah,
I think he asked the applicant to get with Commissioner Hefner about something with the senior citizens, if I remember correctly.
nothing.
I think this is news to Commissioner Hefner.
Commissioner Justice brought it up at first reading. So can we ask the representative about that?
You were volunteered.
Jason Beavers, 947 Lasinius Lane, Murfreesboro. As far as the $25,000, I guess that somebody had asked for, I guess somebody had brought it up that it had been asked for sometime during the process, and we kind of reached out to a few people to try to find out more about that, but we'd be glad to meet with Commissioner Hefner on that. I mean, I think if it's, well, our
Senior center,
from
or
what I understand is
I'm kind of caught kind of flat-footed here.
I
I'm
was
not sure.
too, but from what I understand, they originally asked for that, but then somewhere in the process, somebody asked for us to get utilities to the senior citizen center, the property, I guess, or something.
If I can jump in, that
Maybe.
Senior centers.
At one point, there was a plan for the senior citizen center to be built out there adjacent to the property. And I think that was the context of it. And I don't remember the actual requirements, whether it was to a per lot contribution to the project or utilities or whatnot. But just to put a little context in it, Clemens Road, at one point, that land was donated to the senior citizen center to build on.
Right, and that, I guess somewhere in the process, we were asked to run the utilities as what, we're partners in this project, and that's what I was relayed is we ran the utilities to where I guess the senior citizen was supposed to be.
Do you have any? Are you saying you're willing to contribute $25,000 towards utilities to go?
To my knowledge, I thought that's what we had done was it was supposed to be a part of that. That was supposed to be our contribution as the utilities to the site.
Let's hear from Ms. Hamlin. She's got some insight.
I remember the last meeting that Commissioner Justice, sorry, I was looking at you, brought up, you all had agreed to extend sewer to that adjacent property. And so he was trying to get a like fee in lieu of, I believe was what his intent with the comment was. That came from Mr. Justice.
Either or, it doesn't really matter to us. Either or is fine.
Well, that property is not going to be developed for a senior citizen center now. So it would need to be an in-kind or in lieu, if that's what they are willing to do.
Okay. Is this, where are we at, this second reading?
This is.
What are we talking about on a cost to run a sewer across the street? Just rough. I've actually got something better. While you're thinking of that, did we do a traffic study? Is any of this traffic from this development potentially going to go out on Curd Road to Mount Juliet?
There was a traffic study done well before I got here. This is a fairly old PUD. And I can...
Well, if somebody's going north Mount Juliet Road, there is an option to go down Curd Road. I would, rather than see a contribution go to a sewer that on a building that's, we don't know when is going to be built, much rather have that contribution go to a much needed stoplight at Curd Road. I've been trying to get at Curd Road, Mount Juliet Road for 4 years. The city is having to cover that cost. If you can contribute that, whatever the cost of putting a sewer is towards that stoplight there, that would be great, unless there's already been contributions made.
To.
Okay. I'd much rather see the contribution go to a much needed, very dangerous intersection that I actually have to make a left-hand turn out of often. So damn near got in an accident the other day. Pardon my French. So if we can figure out what the estimated cost is, the sewer, if you would like to contribute that to Public Works to
We'll
go
get with staff.
towards that offsite light,
Yes, sir.
I'd much rather see that.
So there's a force main on the east side of the street across, I'm assuming the property is where the Page Park, where the rock wall is on Clemens Road. Is that the property? Is that correct? Sewer is already across the street.
Okay.
So it is available.
So they just got to cut into the road?
Basically, yeah, bore, but they just got to tie into it. Yes. So
Mm.
public sewer infrastructure is available. in the
Right
city,
directly
basically.
across the street. So 25 grand cover it?
I'd say between 35 and 40,000.
Would you be amenable to $45,000 contribute towards a stoplight in lieu of a sewer?
I will agree to it. Hopefully I have a job tomorrow, but yes, I do.
Okay. I'd like to motion to amend $45,000 contribution. That would be dedicated to offsetting the cost of a stoplight on Curd Road and Mount Juliet Road.
Can I speak one more time?
Sure.
We actually put in that sewer line
Oh, you
across
did?
the street.
Oh, that's
That
interesting.
was supposed to be our contribution, is putting that force main over there, from what I understand.
They did do that.
Did they really?
Yes.
Okay.
So.
All right.
I was going back to the ordinance. None of that was codified about the senior center. So, but they did put the sewer in to serve their development.
Okay. Well, you still willing to do it? I mean, I'm fine retracting.
Never retract that.
How about this? How would we call it? 25 grand.
We can agree to that.
Okay.
That's fair.
So
At what CO, Commissioner? Or what trigger point?
At what trigger point? Well, you're just writing a check. So I would say 25 grand. You probably got that in your pocket right now. Just kidding. I don't know what CO are we at right now?
I think we've only built the first, six or seven buildings and the townhomes. We haven't started the single family yet.
Okay. So maybe by the 25th CO?
I don't see any reason why not.
Okay.
It's
So by the
fair.
so amend or change $25,000 contribution by the 25th CO, the money to go towards offsetting the cost of the stoplight at Curd Road and Mount Juliet Road.
Okay. All right. So we have an amendment here for the $25,000 contribution by 25th CO for the offsetting of the traffic light cost for Curd Road and Mount Juliet Road. Questions or comments on that? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? One abstention, so we're back on the ordinance as amended twice. City Manager?
Yeah, Mayor, I just want to give a shout out to the developers, blessing it with the greenways and the walkway and the sidewalks and other upgrades. Their team's been phenomenal to work with staff. And I appreciate that because we're getting a lot closer. And Matt and his team on this traffic center, I couldn't agree more with the commission. I think that helped with walkers, bikers, other things of that nature. It was delayed for a while because we were contemplating possibly moving it down to East Hill Street. I think we've since found out that if we wanted to add a light later on, once East Hill Street opens with Clemens, we might be able to have two. I don't want to speak out of turn for Matt, but thank you. That'll go a long way. We've been working hard with the post office. I think that's one of the final things that we're working on to get the, the easement that he needs. And that can be difficult sometimes with the federal government. So I want to thank them personally for all your efforts and hard work. Absolute gentlemen to work with. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions or comments? All in favor of the ordinance as twice amended, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? It passes on second reading. Congratulations. Our next item is our new business consent agenda. I'll read these items. 17A, an ordinance to amend the fiscal year 2024-25 budget ordinance 24-25 to accept a grant from the Tennessee Department of Safety Office and appropriate funds for DUI traffic enforcement for the Mount Juliet Police Department. The next is 18A, a resolution authorizing the mayor to sign the agreement between Flock Safety and the City of Mount Juliet Police Department for the license plate reader program. 18B, a resolution authorizing the execution of a contract between the City of Mount Juliet and construction for construction management services for Fire Station Number 3. Motion. Second. All in favor of the consent, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The three items on consent carry. Our next items is 19A. Is there any objection to hearing 19A and B simultaneously? Hearing none, I'll read the two for the record. 19A, an ordinance to annex into the corporate boundaries of the City of Mount Juliet approximately 47.39 acres property known as Silver Springs Phase 8, located at 9621 Lebanon Road, map 54, parcel 45, and located within the city's urban growth boundary. 19B is an ordinance to rezone approximately 47.39 acres of property at 9621 Lebanon Road, map 54, parcel 45, from Wilson County A1 to RS20 PUD, and to adopt the preliminary master development plan for Silver Springs Phase 8. A motion? And a second. All right, it's on the floor. Would anyone like the floor?
Just give me a rundown on what are the, yes, please.
All right, I'll just read the summary here. Proposal add 21.3 acres, 96 single-family residential lots and associated improvements to be built in phases 8 through 13. Existing PUD for Silver Springs location, or for the to the existing PUD for Silver Springs. City land use plan has already been amended from low density to medium density to accommodate the RS20 base zone we're asking for. That's basically it. That's the amendment. Additional phases and additional 96 lots.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we have representation here for this project? Could you come to the podium, please? Get your name and address for the record.
Mike Rye with Lowe's Design, 1274 Poplar Hill Road, Watertown.
All right. Thank you, sir. My question is I would like to see a plan between first and second reading for access from these new phases to Lebanon Road. I'd like to see minimum a construction entrance. It's temporary, but I would like to see a plan for a permanent connection through there.
Frontage is limited, but we'll be meeting with Butch tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Butch Earhart, Universal Builders, is looking at developing this property, so I'll discuss it with him, and he does own some additional property that may be able to provide a way through. So we'll discuss that with him tomorrow and get you something ASAP.
Okay. I know, because one of the things I heard from the residents in existing phases is the number of years and the construction traffic that's been going by there. And I think this is an opportunity to provide them some relief with continuous traffic and going through the neighborhood there as you move into these newer phases.
We've not yet considered it, not discussed it with staff, but we'll get on it.
Thank you. Commissioner Milady?
Yeah, I agree. On the map, is that an easement going down to Lebanon Road?
I think there's a really narrow finger of property. It's been a while since I've looked at it, but I'm pretty confident there's just a little property and it's very narrow. I measured it some time back, and I want to say it was less than 20 feet wide. that goes to Lebanon Road.
Is that the access to Mr. Bender's house
I
currently?
think that's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with the mayor. I would like to see a different access point. You have 7 units in existing plus 96 here, which typically require 2 in and outs for 99, anything over 99. So this would put it over 99. So I would agree that if at all possible, it would really need another access.
They have one planned for Karen Drive off the north side of the property, but I'd like to see some construction relief from the south side coming in instead of continuing to bring that traffic through residential areas. So there's technically 2 entrances once the last phase is built. Yes, sir.
Commissioner Mullally is correct that these additional phases will create a point where there's over 100 units on a single access point. Our code requires in that case that the development team submit a traffic study showing that there will be clear and adequate egress from that location. And they did provide that, and I'm happy to forward that to you as needed. And I would like to play devil's advocate a little bit about getting an access to Lebanon Road. Lebanon Road is a highly congested arterial that in this particular section, I mean, it's 2 lanes with no relief in the 10-year plan from TDOT at the moment, with alternative access through the existing site and via Karen Drive, that would be 1 fewer points of access. And their driveway, or the pole to their flag lot is less than 30 feet wide, and it's between 2 existing driveways. There's not much opportunity without acquiring land from the adjacent property to put in a sufficient city standard street there. At the very least, if that's a way we'd like to go, I'd like to see that access point studied. As I suspect the proximity to the school makes it a little hairy in the AM and afternoon school release hours.
We can see what they propose, have that reviewed. And I think that was one of the biggest concerns, maybe not the biggest is not the right way to say it, but a big concern expressed with the Planning Commission was the numbers of units past the second connection there for the totals on there that you were talking about.
All right. Our improved space, they're asking for 7%, and don't we require 10?
Is that a waiver they were asking for?
Yeah.
It's, I don't see it on here. They required 7%.
Requirement was 7.
Yeah.
I thought it was 10. Oh, okay. All right. Let's see. I can't see the whole agenda because my iPad keeps crashing. And I don't have a printout. So the 6-foot sidewalk along Bender's Ferry with the grass strip, is that something that needs to be motioned for?
I believe with it being in staff's condition of approval, it would just get accepted with the development.
How about, Commissioner, if you don't mind, how about do this under the ordinance? Under planning and the planning department, there's a list of 6 variances requested. I want to make a motion to adopt under the that number 18, 19, 20, 21, and 22. These are the ones that received a positive recommendation from the Planning Commission.
What page are you on?
The second page of the ordinance.
I mean, a page. Do you have a page number?
I do not.
It's
333.
So that's number 18, 19, 20, 21, and 22. These received a positive recommendation. I'm going to move that we adopt those.
Yes.
Was that a second?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions or comments on these 5 variance requests? All in favor of adopting 18, 19, 20, 21, and 22, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. Those 4 are adopted. Under Public Works, we've got number 6, which is staff will support variance 5% with a curb condition. I don't know if that one needs to be adopted, but I'm going to read it just the same. And then under 10, variances 2 and 4 to apply to the entire PUD. And then number 11, which is staff supports variance number 3. That's under the Public Works portion of that. Is there a second on adopting those? Second. Any questions or comments? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Back on the ordinance as twice amended, I think that should cover all of those things that were positively recommended for adoption for variances.
All right, on page 334, number 15, under the, I guess that would be under the ordinance. The sidewalk should be constructed on the north side of Road A to connect to the current proposed terminus for phases 1 to 7. The plan included in the submission does not show sidewalk around the turnaround. So is that something we need a motion for?
Yeah, as long as it's included in our conditions, that's how it went through Planning Commission.
Okay. Let's see. Going through my notes. The setbacks. I didn't put a page number on there. Sorry. I don't know where it is now, but it talked about the setbacks that if they weren't approved, that you would look at doing a raised crosswalk. You know what I'm talking about?
Engineering number 9.
Is that it? Is that the one?
Engineering number 9, and I think it's also under planning number 17.
Yes, engineering number 9 is related to the variance to not build the sidewalk on that particular side of Road A. This is just covering our bases here. We'd like to see the sidewalk built. However, if you all agree to grant that variance request to not build the sidewalk, having a crosswalk at that location prevents people from having to circle all the way back up to cross the street in a safer manner.
I would like the sidewalk built out. Is that anything we need to motion for?
Do nothing.
No, because it's in the condition
Okay.
that the sidewalk be extended.
Okay.
This is a condition in case y'all didn't accept that condition.
Yep. Do nothing and you get it.
Okay. The only other thing which we can talk about at second reading was off-site road improvements. We don't have to talk about it at first reading. And also,
There's no harm in discussing it.
Hmm?
There's no harm in discussing it.
I am happy to jump in here. We just had a pre-con meeting for the widening of Bender's Ferry Road, which will now include a two-way left turn lane while maintaining the right turn lane into this development from their primary Bender's Ferry access.
All right, so what are they doing in addition to the Moss property that's widening all the way down to Lebanon Road?
They're being asked to build that additional sidewalk, understanding that additional turn lanes would not be feasible without signalization of the intersection. And signalization hasn't been studied, and I have doubts on the warrant of it.
All right, so I guess I'm saying, what would be their contribution to the impact for the road, the infrastructure of the?
Of the road itself, they're coming in at a good time, so they're not being asked to make any geometric changes to the road.
All right, so if we were to ask them if they would be willing for a voluntary contribution to go somewhere else, such as maybe Lebanon Road, would that be something we could ask for?
10-year plan will be out in a few weeks, the revised version.
Well, I hope it's in there.
All right, and rentals. Okay, so this is a project was approved a long time ago. There's already in phases 1 to 7. Was anything in there put in there for in the HOA back years ago as far as a rental cap? Probably not.
I don't think there's anything in the existing ordinance.
All right, so if we did it, so right now we don't know how many rentals are in phases 1 to 7. So if we were to put this on the phases 8 to 13, which would be included in the entire HOA, I don't know if that would work. Do you?
Yeah.
Ms.
Probably
Burnett.
the same answer.
Again, this is something that we can just ask them to do, but we can't require it of them. So it would be entirely up to them if they wanted to include that in their HOA covenants.
Yeah, but I'm assuming too that the covenants and stuff have already been adopted based on the first 7 phases.
Correct.
Yeah, so I guess that would be a moot point.
That's even less ability to.
Yeah, that's, okay. I kind of figured so because it's been there a while. Yeah.
Sorry, sir.
Carlos Gusby, I'm at 415 Golden Grove, and to answer your question, so I
Sir,
live. I'm sorry.
Sir, are you part of the representation for the project?
I was going to answer the question in regards to the rental piece because I live in Silver Springs. So I excuse if I'm off base, but there
Yes,
is
sir.
language in the covenants to where the only way you can rent something, you actually have to live in the community itself.
Thank you. Thank you,
So
sir.
I apologize.
So, Commissioner, was that a motion to?
No, for the rental?
Yes.
No, that it's a moot point.
Any other questions or comments on this? Sure, Hefner.
Just want to clarify on the road access. So I'm reading this. We currently have 103 lots, and we're adding another 96 with this phase.
No, so it ends up being about 103 total coming off of Road A, or I believe it's Mill Cove Road in the development itself. And that's because they're adding I think they're adding however many lots is proposed in this phase. But there's existing lots.
7.
Yeah.
So what's going to be the total when this thing is built out? That's going to be accessing this, using this one road?
96.
No,
Or 96 added.
103 because it's the 7 plus the 96.
Right. Okay, so it's 103.
And our code requires 100.
Okay.
So that's why they were asked to prepare that additional traffic analysis for this intersection. That analysis showed excellent level of service, which is kind of expected because the internal streets to the neighborhood are relatively low volume, which provided adequate access towards Bender's Ferry Road or up to Karen Drive, whichever way ends up being convenient. It was assumed most would go to Bender's Ferry.
Okay.
And just to confirm, this is 96 total for the additions, but we're counting the existing homes as well to get to that other number.
Correct.
Okay. Any questions or comments on the item? Commissioner Lay.
I would like to ask if the developer or representative would be willing to give a volunteer contribution of $7,500 per lot to go toward off-site road improvements at Public Works discretion of where you might want to use it, perhaps Lebanon Road or somewhere else in that area.
Members of the Commission, my name is Tom White. I'm an attorney. I represent the applicant. We hadn't heard that request until tonight. We'll address it with our client and have it addressed before second reading. I don't know if there's a legal predicate for it, but we'll discuss it with our client. Certainly come back well before second.
Okay.
Thank you. All right. Any other questions or comments? All right. All in favor of 19A and B as amended, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Believe that passes on first reading. Be back January 13th, I believe, for second reading. I'm getting affirmative head shakes. Any objections to hearing both 19C and D together? Okay, hearing none, I'll read C and D for the record. 19C, an ordinance to amend the land use plan for the property known as Godfrey subdivision located at 1030 Nonneville Road, map 50, parcel 100, from low density residential to medium density residential. 19D, which is an ordinance to rezone approximately 10.5 acres of property at 1030 Nonneville Road, map 50, parcel 100, from RS40 to RS30 PUD, and to adopt the preliminary master development plan for Godfrey subdivision. Have a motion and a second. It is on the table. Would anyone like the floor? Commissioner Hefner.
Coming in as a RS20, correct?
Yes.
Correct. So I'd like to go ahead and it actually satisfies our RS40. Is that correct? Confirmation on that?
It's complicated because of the land, they got land, I believe it's 2.8 acres that's included in this PUD that will eventually, according to the notes on the plan, be deeded to the church along Nonneville Road. So technically it's included in this PUD right now.
Okay.
And it's going to be given away to the church for parking or deeded away to the church for parking. It's one of the reasons this had difficulty in planning commission because you need 10 acres for an RS20 PUD.
Correct.
And they got 10.05 acres, including the land that they intend to give to the church. So when you remove that land, you now have a PUD of closer to 7 acres. So that's an issue. But it is, but it's not really part of the residential PUD. It will be parking is what I heard for the church.
But if the property sells, if they sell the property under RS20, somebody could come in and build as though it's RS20.
Correct.
So if we can amend it and codify it as an RS40, if they sell the entitlements to another home builder, they would have to build to RS40 specs. Correct?
Correct.
Okay. So, I mean, we're going to vote on this. So I'd like to motion to amend that we change the zoning to from RS20 to RS40.
Was a motion to change the base zoning RS20 to RS40?
Correct.
That was the second. Commissioner Mullally, you had a question?
Is that for the whole thing or just that 2.3? I mean, what is it, 2.8 acres?
Whole thing.
The whole thing?
Yeah, the whole thing.
Could we possibly ask the developer to remove that 3 acres from the PUD to simplify the whole thing? Because the density is skewed with that property.
John, what was your recommendation?
Well, if you remove that property that they're labeling as undevelopable, yeah, you have a density that's greater than RS40, 1.5 units an acre. So the RS40 works only with the inclusion of that land in the PUD. If the PUD boundaries don't change, then the RS40 would be fine. If it stays the way it is.
You'd be okay with that? But rather than taking it out
It's a little
altogether?
unusual to me, but yes, if the board was all right with it, that you'd have an undevelopable lot within the PUD, adding to the open space and decreasing the density number because it's not developable, but it's included in the PUD boundary. It's an interesting one. I guess my issue with it is it's just being included in the PUD to keep the density at a certain number and the acreage at a certain number to meet code.
I agree with that. That's why I thought if we just took it out, wouldn't that just
But
solve?
if you take it out, then you got to have the well, no, you'd have to have the RS20. And then the PUD falls below the 10-acre minimum that is required for an RS20 PUD. So it doesn't meet the code. Things could have changed since I last discussed this with the applicant, though, so we might want to hear.
Let's hear from representation.
Jake Porter, CSCG 2305 Klein Avenue. Engineering the project, the owner developer is here as well. So just to clarify a little bit with that piece of property, the project started as a straight zone RS40, where it is currently straight zoned RS40, and we can have 11 lots in that general vicinity. At this point, we've talked to John and staff several months now in a row about this, and if you'll flip to the back of the packet that came, the last plan sheet on that, we kind of came to an understanding that it would be, I would say, ideal for both parties. It doesn't hurt us at all. We're very open to switching that piece of church or the property that would be dedicated to church back
Yeah, so wait till you get it open. So instead of changing the whole thing, the whole PUD area to RS20 or RS40 PUD, that piece of it will remain in the same land use as it is currently and in the same zoning as it is. That way they won't, moving forward, that piece the church has cannot be developed under this PUD. Does that make sense? The pure purpose is just for the church's use, not to be future developed without coming back with an amendment. Hope if that makes sense. So that would be C 0.01, but the last page. It was an exhibit we did just to use it for that explanation purpose, and we can switch it out between now and the second reading if that is what is agreed upon. C0, sorry.
C000. Mr. Porter, could you explain that over the microphone for us? So we're looking at number, I guess, C3 on here, and you're proposing this stay under a PUD RS40, not including the land for the church. Or my understanding is correct?
We're okay with whichever route it takes to get that. I'll say the 11 lots that were agreed upon so far. How we do that is, again, whatever path forward, because I spoke to Commissioner Hefner prior, and I agree that the RS20 makes it's RS20 with a RS40 density because we want it to be 11 lots, no more. And the only way to get that with this, due to the zoning code stating that we can't do an RS40 PUD because we don't have 20 acres. We can't do an RS30 PUD because we don't have 15 acres. We do have 10.05 or 10.01 acres, which gets us the RS20 PUD, but we want to keep it at that density. Again, this all started up several months ago in line with Commissioner Justice's wanted to keep everything in that area in that district RS40 to keep it from overdeveloping. We agreed with that. We came from 18 lots down to 14, and then kicked down to that would have been RS30, and then going back down to the 11 lots to get it to RS40. So again, at that point is where it started getting into we have to have this certain acreage, and we wanted to come through a PUD. He requested that we would go through a PUD. That way, again, we all understand that we like PUDs and like the control of PUDs. So ultimately, that led us to where we're at now. So again, we understand that it's kind of the minimum size for a PUD. But the 11 lots is kind of that minimum point we're at.
Mr. Hefner.
So sorry, I didn't mean to open up a can of worms with this, but given that it's going to be a PUD, if somebody was going to come back and try to redevelop this, they would have to come back through this board with an amendment anyways. So I'm fine with retracting my motion.
Did you second? Yeah, I did. But it's okay. Any objections?
You good with that? Okay. So
without objection, we'll retract the motion by Commissioner Hefner.
And I may ask a question because I'm not, and it's probably honestly to attorney here. We have called it out on the cover sheet and everywhere that you'll find RS20 PUD. We also called it RS20 PUD with RS40 density maximum because again, we have no intentions of creating more lots under the table. The developer is very on board with this plan as it is, and we will make that true. So my question, I guess, would be: is that satisfy, or do you think that is something that could be loopholed? Because we don't want that to happen. We're wanting to move forward with this project as it sits here, because again, that's where they're at.
If they go with an RS40 base, they can't do that because of the area requirement of 20 acres. So. We couldn't change the base zoning of a PUD to RS40 in this instance because it requires 30 or 20 acres. And they only got 10 and 10.05. So.
Okay.
So the RS20 makes sense, what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
Unless they went without the PUD, then you could do
While the attorney's looking, Ms. Hamlin?
Would you all feel more comfortable making a condition that they cannot exceed 1.1 units per acre? I mean, I think that would probably lock it in for everybody. So have the base zoning, but they cannot exceed 1.1 units per acre, which is the max density for RS40.
Yes. Can I make that motion?
You can have the floor.
Okay. A motion that the density shall not exceed 1.1 units per acre, correct?
Can I ask a question?
Is there a second on the,
Yeah, I'll second that.
I got a second? Yes, sir.
The question was raised that is the perfectly fine motion, I believe, but I'm asking a question if it's easier to say 11 lots. Is that possible to enforce? The PUD is capped at 11 lots? Or is that okay, that's what I'm asking. Just to make it, because again, you go through the calculations part of it. That's what I don't want to get caught off with the minimums, I guess.
No, I commend you. It's rare that we have somebody up here saying they don't want to build any more houses.
I don't want to put that words in. They probably would, but we.
Well, I mean, I'm hearing you say they don't want it any
enough
more
things
than
in here
11
that at
lots.
this
I'm
point-
like, we're up here
right, at
debating
this
you.
point,
Okay.
This lot, this one is 11.
It's unique to say the least. So I appreciate your sentiment there. I want to do that.
I'll, and this is targeted as higher end development?
That's relative, but yes.
Sir, come to the podium, please, and give name and address, please.
Joe Godfrey, Godfrey Development Group, 1643 Nashville Pike, Suite 100, Gallatin, Tennessee. The as far as high end, the homes would be, I'm guessing, somewhere in that 600-ish price range. So high end, I'm not sure exactly what level that is.
I guess I do have some concerns about this development based on where it's at and where it sets this hill on here. I really wish this could have connected to the development behind it, but that ship has sailed. It's a little cul-de-sac here, just going to serve this community here. What's the consideration for making this a private street?
We are going to have access for the church to use that road coming in. They currently have to come in one side of their parking lot, and then their parking lot's restricted to that side. Currently, they're driving around the back onto this property. So we were working with them to give them some more space, and then they would be coming out onto this road.
Okay.
And so I don't know if that's a concern with it being a private street or.
Not a concern for me.
Oh, okay. All right. I don't really have any objection to it being a private street.
Any objections from staff, concerns? I mean, I'd want them built to city standards, but.
Yeah, if it's built to city standards, we'd love to not take care of it.
Yeah, okay. Commissioner Mullally?
Oh, if it's going to be a private street, would it make sense to have it gated?
It may if the church wasn't going to be coming in. And with 11 lots, I just gated a subdivision in Gallatin, and they had me remove it before we were done. Having 11 lots plus the church trying to gate it with getting cars in and out and having to wait at the road for the gate to open. And if multiple cars are stacking up at the gate, it can push the cars back out into the road. Yeah. And so.
Well, I mean, beyond that 3 acres, like into the
Well, then there would be some lots outside the gate.
Yeah.
Okay, I got you.
Well, I'm gonna make a motion that this be a private street built to city standards. Is there a second? Got a second on that? Questions or comments? Any concerns from staff? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? One abstention. Right.
Yeah.
If the development team's all right, we can capture this at another point as the project progresses, but they could provide a public access easement to the church, recorded on a final plat
Perfect.
or preliminary plat.
Perfect. All right. Yes, ma'am.
This would be an HOA.
Yes.
I'd like to motion that there would be a 10% written in the bylaws of the HOA, a 10% rental cap, which really would be what, one house? And then no one owner can own more than 2 lots that have that written in the bylaws of the HOA.
That is already on the plans.
That
as
is?
comment
Okay.
number
All right.
25. We knew it was coming.
Vice Mayor?
Yeah, I'm going to look to staff on this for the detention pond. Is there any concerns over there with the elevation with the neighboring properties?
At this point in the PUD, the stormwater is all conceptual. That'll be analyzed with an FMDP.
Okay.
Concern, I wouldn't have any with the few amount of lots on this property.
Okay. Well, I'm just thinking about the neighboring properties behind it. That's what I was looking at. Again, I mean,
I think there's a creek back there.
Is that
I
what that
think
is? Okay.
It should intercept all the water before it gets to any neighboring property. So
okay, then I must be misreading this one. Okay. And then the second thing is with the parking lot that's going to the church, let's say the church sells the property. Is this going to be, I guess, this will now basically roll into the church's property owned. They'll take full ownership of this. And is there any concern for staff if, let's just say, the church decides to sell the property,
It'll have the PUD overlay over top of it, but
Okay.
forever.
So there is some type of
Time being.
protection there?
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
it really wouldn't change anything.
Okay. Just wanted to double check. Thank you.
Under engineering number 5, I don't think that staff does not support variance number 2. All roads shall be designed per city code. I think we already captured that, took care of that with the first amendment, that the roads be built to city standards. And then under planning and zoning number 2 and number 3, have a look at those, John, and see if there's any action we need to do since we're considering that other change. But I'd also make a motion under planning and zoning that we adopt number 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. I think they're already granted by planning commission, but do we need to codify those? Okay. Then that'll be my motion that we adopt 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. That's under planning and zoning. Is there a second? You got a second on that? Any questions or comments on 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13? All right, all in favor of adopting conditions 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. It's back as twice amended, I believe. Commissioner Mulledy.
Okay, this is a county road. Assuming the county would require a turn lane, a right turn and a left turn.
To this point, it's a right turn decel lane is what's required. We have had conversations with the county road commission.
Okay, but a southbound left turn lane?
There's not one.
Not one?
Not correct.
Oh, and also if the church sells, that 3 acres is going to be deeded over at some point.
Yes.
So if the church sells where the church sits now plus the 3 acres, would they have to come back here to have that removed from the PUD?
Yes. Yes. So to double back onto that secondary plan I showed,
Mhm.
that would leave that piece that will be given to the church, it will leave it as it stands today in RS40 and in the low density, I believe. That way, it and the church property are the same zoning and the same land use. So yes, in the future, if they ever decided to sell it and do anything else, they would have to come back to rezone that whole property. Both properties would have to be rezoned and amendment to the PUD.
To have it removed.
Correct.
Okay.
John, what do you want to do with under planning and zoning number 2 and 3?
Strike them.
Okay. I'll make a motion to strike 2 and 3 under planning and zoning. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Any questions or comments? All in favor of striking 2 and 3, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, that carries. So we're back on the ordinance as 3 times amended. Anything from staff on this? Anything from board? All right, we're ready to vote. All in favor of 19C and 19D as 3 times amended, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, that carries. And with that, we concluded the business portion of our agendas. There's nothing else on there. Without objection, we will adjourn. Hearing no objections, we are adjourned.